pharyngeal or pharyngeal, pronounced either way, pharyngeal reflex. Now, if I were to say the pharyngeal reflex, some of you might know what I'm talking about. A lot of you would not. So what is a pharyngeal reflex? Well, you've heard of the pharynx, so you're getting closer there. And if we just said gag reflex, and everybody knows what the pharyngeal reflex is. Now think about the fine-tuned precision of the pharyngeal reflex. You know that if you get something too close to the back of your throat, that old reflex kicks in, the old gag reflex. However, we breathe and drink and chew food and swallow all these things, and we don't perfectly. The flap that covers the trachea or windpipe's got to go down properly. It's got to be timed right. You don't think when you eat or chew and drink, you don't think, close flap. You don't have to say that in your mind. If you do, we'd probably all be dead quickly. All right? And you don't have to remember. It just does it automatically. And then when something goes down there that's not supposed to, what kicks in? The old gag reflex. Now, are we supposed to believe that just happened? By mutations, by accident. People started just killing over, right? The gag reflex wasn't working right, and everything that touched near their mouth or throat, the gag reflex is not calibrated right. They're just spitting it up, so they can't get a single thing down, and they kill over and die. Or the other way around, gag reflex is calibrated too insensitive, so everything that goes back there, dangerous, foreign object, anything gets in the throat, they can't feel it. The gag reflex doesn't work when it's supposed to, and they asphyxiate. Have a mutation that comes along. Foolishness. The Greek word is moria. It's where the word moron comes from. Evolution and mutations taught the way that it's taught for those that are atheists. It's moria. Okay? Young people and not as young people, don't ever be bothered by the moria that is the naturalist's explanation for all that exists, because it is truly moria. All right, as we turn to the sermon today, I'm excited. We are starting off. I sort of introduced it and primed the pump or whet your appetite when I preached on New Year's Day. I preached a little bit on the church, touched on the church, but today we, in earnest or officially, start our mantra for this year, the year of the healthy church. So today's sermon will officially kick it off. I'll preach a few. Jim will preach a few. I think we're going to alternate 2 weeks at a time at first here, but we may spend, I don't know how long we're going to spend on the church. We're just asking God to lead us. When it's time to move on to another topic, we'll move on. So if we go, 2 months, 3 months, something like that maybe, but who knows? We'll see. God may lead us to preach longer. It's super important. Second to Christ, there's probably nothing more important or as important as the church. God, Christ first, a close second. I shouldn't say close, nothing's really close to God being priority, but a second probably is the church. That's probably, I can't think of too many other things that are any more important or any more important than the church. Where does that word come from? You think about that word. It's one that almost is spelled the same frontwards and backwards almost. You got a CH on both ends, the beginning and the end, and you just got a UR in there. And my son, the younger of my two sons, second oldest, from Lisa and mine together, we have 4. He went years ago when we still lived in Missouri. He went to a church with a friend, and he said, "Dad, the preacher, the way he said church was just really funny. He kept asking everybody, 'What are you going to do after church? What are you going to do after church?'" And so he almost said it backwards, didn't he? That's kind of church, I guess, would be CHURUCH. Church. What are you going to do after church? He would just emphasize the word church in such a funny way. So it almost sounds the same frontwards and backwards. Where did we get this little word from? It's not in the Bible. The word church is not in the Bible. It's an English-derived word. It was. I looked a little bit at the etymology of the word, didn't go into great detail, but it does come from kurios, the Greek word for the Lord, okay? So it is based on a biblical foundation. The word church, a lot of English words come from Greek and Latin, okay? It's the Indo-languages all were one at one